You're listening to The Paul Higgins Show, where ambitious tech consultants come to unlock their potential. After 18 years as a global leader, I launched several businesses, culminating in a successful exit. I'm sharing what I learned, plus what's working now from mentoring tech consultants. You will hear leaders within our industry to help you build a business you love that allows you to do what you want. If you are looking for immediate cash flow wins to fuel your growth, go to our free ebook at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap. Imagine you see patterns in a vertical and you're currently doing project by project and you just think, how could I make this more formal and turn it into sustainable recurring revenue? Hi, I'm Paul Higgins and welcome to my show, episode 567. And in this podcast, I talked to Tom Hall from BluRoot Mortgage about verticalization, leveraging Zoho. And you're going to love this episode. You're going to learn how to verticalize. You're going to learn about how to grow your brand, in particular through events and social media using video. And the third thing is how to build a moat around your product, leveraging off the platform, for him, Zoho, to make it sticky and get that recurring revenue. Tom joined as a partner in BluRoot in 2018 and led their vertical CRM product, Blue Mortgage, to be an industry-leading CRM for thousands of mortgage brokers in Canada, where Tom and Massimo, his business partner, live. Tom has been recognized as an industry rising star by the CMP magazine and now hosts his own podcast, Mortgage Tech Talks. If you'd like to see Tom and I on video, just go to Paul Higgins Mentoring, the YouTube channel. And now what I'll do is hand you over to Tom Hall from bluemortgage.ca. Great to have you here, Tom.
Yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm really looking forward to this. I follow you on social media, which I know we'll talk about. I love the the videos you've been doing. We'll get to that, but why don't we kick off with who your ideal clients are and what problems you love to solve for them?
Yeah, my name's Tom Hall. I am a part of a firm called BluRoot up here in Canada, or Zoho Partners. But what I work with, or who I work with specifically, are mortgage brokers. In the States, they call them loan officers. In Australia, I think it is mortgage brokers too. You know better than I do. Yeah, okay. Yes. But the reason I don't know so well, because we are even that much more specific. We say mortgage brokers in Canada. So we are super, super niche. There's maybe about 20,000, I think the number is, the last estimate of folks, mortgage brokers in Canada. You know, it seems like it seems small-ish, but there's a ton of opportunity in there. And what problems do we help with them? I mean, classic CRM stuff, but really what's big in at least Canada, and I think Australia is the same, US a bit different, is staying in touch.
Yeah.
Mortgages renew every 5 years in Canada. And so there's a whole market, there's a whole industry built around staying in touch, meaningful interactions, so that when they do renew, they're coming back to you. They're not going to their bank. They're working with you, and you get the commission at that time. Those are the problems, and those are the folks that we work with.
Brilliant. So of that 20,000, is there a long tail of, i.e., independent mortgage brokers, or is there some consolidated groups? How does that sort of work in Canada?
Yeah, how it works in Canada is, even across the board, most brokers, agents, you would call them, are primarily independent. Doesn't matter. How it's organized is there's brokerages. So there's kind of a governing group that you register with. So you say, okay, I'm an agent, I'm Tom, I'm working with this brokerage, but I'm still an independent contractor to that brokerage. They just help me with my compliance primarily. Really, for us, we work directly with that independent agent. But where the long tail exists is, of course, what we call the volume for all agents, because this is how they get paid. How much mortgage volume do they do? And there's definitely that 80-20, where 20% of the agents do 80% of the volume. And we actually have a lot of concentration in those high volume brokers, because those are the people who, understand the value of a CRM, who are willing to invest, are willing to take that time, and might have an assistant who can walk them through that. So we do have more concentration on those higher volume, I should say, people in the space. Yeah.
How easy is it to identify who that 20,000 is? Like, is there an association with a list, or, how do you know who the 20,000 are?
Yeah. So, where you get those numbers at a super high level is, there's within Canada, I think in the States too, in Australia, there's registration that you have to register, and there's a regulator, and anybody, it's a public record, right? So you can see it and you can go through it. Early on, I would say is actually, we were really excited about that. We're like, wow, great. This is just a list of everybody who we could ever reach out to. Let's just go there and start finding them and reaching out to them. We started that, didn't work out so well, to be honest. Like I think I said 20,000. It seems big or small, I guess depends what you're coming from. But to us, it feels like such a small market because inevitably now we've been doing this for 5 years. Almost everyone we talk to now has said word of mouth. How did you hear about us? Oh, my friend uses you guys. Oh, this. Yeah, oh, I saw you guys at the conference, right? It feels so small, even though maybe that 20,000 could be a big number. That's really kind of how we've been able to grow is we've hit that critical mass where the awareness is there and people are finding us that way.
Yeah. So take us back to when you first decided to chase this as a niche or a niche. Take us to that
Sure.
moment situation and how did it unveil?
So you know this story, but maybe for everyone else listening. So my co-founder is Massimo. He started BluRoot in 2014. And it was just him in his basement, just working for $10 an hour, like below minimum wage, just anything to get some help. And he was just doing more consulting projects. And it was a great way to get off the ground. I give a lot of credit to him for what he was able to achieve with that. But he always had this back of his head. He went to India. He went to like the Zoho conference. He met Sridhar, who's the CEO of Zoho, and they kind of planted this idea of verticalization, right? So going after something very niche, something specific. It was always something he talked about. I knew Massimo before I even joined the firm as something he always talked about, but was never able to really kind of fully execute on it just because he was busy in his day to day. He had these active projects. He had to sell this. Kind of fortunate for both of us, I think, around 2018 now. So this is, 4 years after he started. I was kind of wrapping something up. I was looking for a changing career. Of course, I knew him personally, and I've heard this many, many times. I kind of came to him and said, okay, well, you've worked with a lot of brokers. You kind of know the problems. Why don't we take this plunge? Why don't we do this? And that was kind of my role. That was the hat I wore. Well, he kind of still was able to do all the things and pay the bills and do that. I was able to kind of come in and wear that hat and help build the vertical. And I mean, it was tough. Tough the first couple of years because you're filled with doubts. You're saying, we're spending money, we're getting like one customer a month. That's not paying the bills. We don't know if this is even a thing, that product market fit that people always talk about. Should we just abandon it and do the higher margin work, which is the projects that Mass is doing? And that was tough. But I think what kind of helped us through that was just kind of, I guess, faith in the idea and I guess the long-term vision of where we wanted to be, right? Why did we even do this in the first place? We didn't want to be constantly hunting for what we're going to eat the next month. We wanted to have a business that could scale, that we could build around, that we could go around. And that kind of kept us hungry. And I think it was that hunger that really pushed us through because there were so many times it could have failed. And luckily we did push through and here we are now.
Yeah, great. And look, Massimo was on the podcast episode 463, so you can go back
What are
and
we at now? Yeah. Okay.
so we're
Yeah.
at this is 567. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
so
there you go.
so
Yeah.
almost 100. But yeah, you go back and listen to that from the service point of view. But just so we all understand it, Massimo's still running the consulting, which I think he's got his own vertical that he's focused on, from my
Yep.
understanding. And what's that vertical?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing to actually clarify is that as of Jan 1, 2023, so maybe Mass hadn't been on yet, we are officially doing no service. Yeah, so we've officially fully shut that down. That's been tough for a lot of different reasons, staff, client expectations, but it's been great for us. It's allowed us to focus. Came out of that, Blue Mortgage really continued to grow. It was at that point where we said, yes, this is a thing. Those doubts had kind of been put to bed. Now we need to really kind of put it on turbo. That was one thing. And then the other thing is what you just said, which is Massimo then was kind of like, okay, well, where do I focus? What do I do? Tom kind of led this mortgage thing. What else is there? And we kind of stumbled on this, which was financial advisors. It's a similar-ish thing, right? It's a financial advisor usually works with you to usually get life insurance or investments. They're kind of a middleman where they're helping you, but then they're also working with financial institutions to get you the products that you need. So there were some parallels there. We had some connections and that launched around the same time in 2023. And now that's doing quite well. And we were able to rinse and repeat. So that was an exciting thing for us too, to say, okay, we didn't just get lucky with Blue Mortgage. It was actually turned into a repeatable framework, right? And we had that. And that was really interesting to us to say, okay, this can be something that we can copy and paste. And who knows where that's going to take us? We don't actually know. I mean, we're pretty happy with the two right now, but if anything ever came down the line where we said, hey, maybe there's another vertical, we have that confidence now in that playbook, if you will, to say, okay, well, this is how you go after, these new markets.
Yeah, and great, because I was going to ask the question is, why continue the services? Why not double down? So thanks for
Sure. Yeah.
answering that. But I suppose the other question is, why extend into a second vertical? Why not just double down on just the one? What was the decision making around doing that?
A couple of things kind of happening at the same time with that. I think the easiest way to talk about that was just it was about diversification as it relates to risk. Mortgages in Canada, I think Australia, maybe the US too. It's been a tough 2 years actually for that. We talked to one client who he said, "Yeah, I'm down 60% year over year. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yeah, that's a good one because there's people who are down 80% or, much or out of the business, right? There was that. So we said, okay, well, we saw this coming and we said, okay, maybe we want to diversify. That was, one one big thing with that. And so it's the pros and cons of finding a niche, right? To say, okay, yes, you can have these focus and all these great things, but then you're actually kind of at the whims of that market and what that could look like. That was a good lesson for us. And luckily we did kind of build this Cloven thing up in time to have that hedge. But it was also really kind of I was talking about earlier where, people were coming to us saying, hey, maybe you should look at this vertical or that vertical because we kind of built this reputation of being the vertical guys. We kind of had these doubts in our head, or maybe not doubts, but we just didn't know. We said, okay, should we do this? Can we do this? Did we just get lucky? We wanted to answer that question. And we don't know what we're going to do with that answer, but we feel at least now we're at the point where it's like, okay, maybe it wasn't just luck. We do have this playbook. So we wanted to, maybe it's a bit of ego. I don't know, Paul, you can tell me, but we wanted to kind of say, okay, is this, something that is repeatable, right? And scalable.
Think that the numbers will wash out, right? But I do
Mhm.
agree with the model that it should be multiple given the platform you've got.
Yeah.
And talking about the platforms, I'm a client of Blue Mortgage. I get my CRM. How does it look like Zoho? Does it look nothing like Zoho? What's it look like
Yeah.
as a client?
Looks like Zoho, and Zoho's there. It's half our clients know what Zoho is, half don't really care. They work with both of them, just work with us. But there's the half that really kind of digs deep and sees what's this Zoho thing and does it. Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Some people already know what Zoho is. The other half just work with us, and that's fine. But yeah, it was not something that we intentionally hid. In fact, in a lot of conversations, it's a strength. Although we want to own the brand, we want to own the customer. That's ultimately really important to us. The customers are paying us, we pay Zoho. So we own the relationship. That's important. But we say, hey, do you know what? Even though you're working with us, we're a local company, and you have all those benefits there, you also have the benefits of this global organization behind us with the security, the reliability that comes with that, but even the staying up to date, right? There's a lot of really old software that's used in the mortgage industry. It's a taste that a lot of people have in their mouth, I should say, of this was modern 20 years ago, but it hasn't changed a pixel since, and now it looks completely outdated. What's your answer to, staying up to date? And we can say, well, have you heard of this Zoho thing? Or, hey, there's this billion-dollar company that's changing things every year to stay up to date. It's a huge strength, we think, ultimately. It's those two things. And we want to always balance that to say, yes, we have the brand, we own the customer, but hey, we're backed up by a really strong company behind us.
Yeah, yeah, it's smart. And look, I've had several clients that we've done a similar thing in. There's been, scaffolding industry. There's in the real
Mm,
estate industry, there's certain, like a letter drop component, which they ended up launching a SaaS product, but I really do their own SaaS. But I think it's a great way to succeed because otherwise, I think one of the things that I think a lot of Zoho partners struggle with is they get so enamored in Zoho and
yeah.
they drink the Kool-Aid and then they try to convince everyone. And that's a very hard game to play rather than saying, this is, I'm helping you close more mortgages and
Mhm.
Zoho just happens to be the secure platform that we run it on. And just across Zoho One, we know, what is it, 52, 51.
Yeah. Can't even keep up anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you go in with CRM and then it spreads, or is it you just purely stick with the CRM?
To the first point, yeah, I think that's exactly right. I have my own podcast now, and I've learned from you the ins and outs. I know you've been doing this for a while. But one thing I talk about a lot right now is falling in love with the problem, not the solution,
Yeah.
right? So I think that Zoho for a lot of people is a very shiny object. It's a very cool solution. One of my teammates used this analogy for AI. It's like it's a shiny shovel, but you don't care if you have no holes to dig, right? Find the holes, find those, and then okay, insert the shovels. Completely agree. And I mean, that's honestly what's allowed us to scale so much with Blue Mortgage is that side of thing. Yes, we go in with this is your problem. This is the solution that's going to solve it. And usually, honestly, it takes 3, 4, 6 months sometimes. Okay, now I get it. And then usually what ends up happening is they come back to us and they say, okay, well, I've done this. What else can I do? And that's where it then becomes fun. We can be the Zoho nerds and say, okay, well, actually, you didn't realize this, but we're now opening up Pandora's box with the 54 other apps that you have no idea about. And that just blows their mind. And for us, it's we make no extra money off of that. But I think like a lot of these things, it just becomes a total retention and referral play, right? Where if these people now have just amazing customer experiences, they're never leaving because they are using 6 of the apps and it runs their entire business. But it also is an exciting thing for then that same broker to then go to their colleague and say, check out this thing that does so much for me. It's definitely that, right? We almost say it's a double-edged sword, and I'll wrap this part up quickly, but there's so much to it that it can almost be overwhelming. So when we go in the first conversation, we say, and we're trying to do this now, what's the number one thing? I know you have a long list of a lot of problems. I know we could probably solve a lot of those. I don't care about 2 through 10. What's number one? It's been important because if you try to do all 10 at once, it doesn't work.
Spot on. And look, I'm working with a Zoho partner that's just launching in
Mm.
Canada as well, but they're
Oh, nice.
from the industrial automation space. So very
Mm.
different space to you're from.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it's the same thing, how do we grow revenue? Because most of these companies are all about cost out. I'm like, but no one's
Mhm.
talking about revenue up. So how do we go on revenue up? And then then you introduce Zoho once
Right.
problems there and you can solve the problem. So,
Mhm.
and I point them to you to say, hey, here's a brilliant example of someone that's done that. What about, like how much is of working with a mortgage broker is the implementation cost up front versus the, recurring revenue after that? Because, I'm assuming they stick for a while, but, is your revenue sticky?
Yeah. Well, we don't charge any upfront fees. We don't charge anything. We actually we give months away for free. And I think it's the nature of the industry that we're in. There's people who are they expect a lot of stuff free up front. It's a whole dynamic in the market, but it is. And so that's why it was so important to have that service side to begin with, because for a given customer, we lose money when you look at the all-in costs, like for the first year, almost for sure, right? Because we're giving away months for free. We're doing work with them to onboard them, getting their data in. We're doing work with them to get certain customization set up. We can get you 80% of the way there out of the box, but everybody wants that last 20 because everybody, even though we see on our side maybe a little bit differently, everyone thinks their business is a unique butterfly that needs those very special tweaks that really end up being very small, but makes them think it's their system, they've controlled it, and we help them with that. There's a lot of overhead that goes to getting them there, and we just kind of eat that. It's been a internal thing for us, but again, we've been so lucky to have this service revenue to support that. And it took us 3 years to 2023 or 5 years, I guess. But we got to a point where now those people that we invested in 5 years ago are paying that overhead for the new people, right? And then it becomes a positive feedback loop. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question,
Yeah,
Paul, but
I suppose so
yeah.
it is a monthly subscription.
Yep.
Is that, yeah?
Yep.
So it's a monthly subscription. Is there any minimum term on the subscription?
No, we do. It's very much so like Zoho. So it's month to month. If you want, that's one fee. And we offer a 20% discount if you commit to the year. Yeah, it's all recurring. We charge the client directly. So we charge them 120 Canadian. That's what we charge them approximately. And then we pay Zoho on a monthly basis, their fees, which is about 55 Canadian. The majority of it, that more than 50% we put in our pocket, that funds all of the things we do.
Yeah.
And then the 55 goes to Zoho. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And have you had what's stopping someone saying, "Oh, well, I'll just go straight to Zoho and I don't need you guys," which I'm sure
Yeah,
you've never heard
yeah,
before.
yeah, no, yeah. It was a big fear up front. We honestly hear it less from the brokers than we expect, but there's two big things that drive that. One is what I was talking about earlier. We own the brand, we own the relationship. So some people don't even think, most people don't even think of that. They're like, what Zoho is this thing? It's like when you, I'm trying to think of a good example, but it's like you sign up for something powered by X. Very
Yes.
few people just decide, oh, I'm just going to cut you out and go to X. No
Yes.
one really thinks that. They're like, no, I'm a customer of Blue Mortgage. And that's the way it is. But the other really smart thing that we did, uh, if I do say so myself, pat myself on the back, is that we, in the layer that we add, which includes our customizations, we also included integrations to a lot of the big mortgage software companies in Canada. And that's not through Zoho's infrastructure. So you can build integrations in Zoho with Deluge. All the Zoho people out there know what that is. It's like Apache for Salesforce, or I'm going to get the name wrong, but you could do that, but we didn't. We said, no, we're going to build it on our own stack and we pay for it and it's in our servers and everything. So even if Joe Blow says, no, I'm going to just go straight to Zoho, you go, okay, fine, but click, we're turning off your integrations. And 99 times out of 100, they go, okay, whoa, never mind. Right. Hey,
Yeah, yeah.
easy, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
your defendable moat is
Yes.
that. And how many clients would you have that don't have any integrations? Is
And
every client got an integration?
95% do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, great. Brilliant. So that perfect sense. And how we sort of skipped it at the start, but I normally ask like, how do you get more of these? We've talked about, referrals, word of mouth, it's sort of spread. Is there
Yeah.
anything else? You mentioned an event. Is there anything else that you're doing to, further penetrate this 20,000?
Yeah. So a couple things. It's all about these industry events. Honestly, that's another great thing about these niches. So we went to a golf tournament last week and there's a national mortgage conference next month and we go there and we set up a booth and we
Yeah.
meet a lot of people that way. So, that's a huge part of it. Another thing that we're trying to do right now is, understand these centers of influence. So I kind of described it earlier, how you can be an agent, but you have to be part of a brokerage, right? So you have to say, I'm going to hang my license. I'm going to associate my license with this brokerage. And that's how I'm going to do all my mortgage transactions. So now what we're trying to do, and this was something someone told us, so I'm not going to take credit for us, is actually go to the brokerage, right? And say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Brokerage, your job, you're trying to recruit more agents. You want more agents in your brokerage. And a lot of those agents already there, but also in Canada are using Blue Mortgage. So let's make a deal. I'll give you a discount just for your agents. So you can go to the industry, you can show from the rooftops. If you're using Blue, I can give you special perks. I can make your Blue experience that much better. And then exchange, what we're going to get is you just have to let us present to your group every couple months. It's understanding these centers of influence and really trying to find win-win situations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We actually did that with another product when we had our tech consulting business and
Mm.
did a similar thing. My experience is Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola, that's the way that it's
Yeah.
always run, is that, in most, especially in the food game, it's franchise or franchisees. And
Mm-hmm.
some are tighter than others, but you're always playing, that game between franchisor and the franchisee. And
Always that bit of tension, right? Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. The biggest one, just quickly, is like Subway. If I'm sure you watching Tom and I know, or listening to
I was a
Tom.
sandwich artist. I worked at Subway for
There
a bit.
you
So.
go. But like Fred
Yeah.
DeLuca, I don't know if he's still alive, but when I was ran Subway for Coca-Cola, it was Fred basically very loose, their franchise agreement. So
Mm.
Fred would say, yes, we'll go with Coca-Cola, because I transitioned in Australia as 100% Pepsi. I transformed it to
Mm.
100% Coca-Cola, but each individual franchise made the decisions. I had a lot of subs.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another
Yeah.
time, another world. But yeah, it's a smart strategy to do it. And the good thing is you got good social proof now, so
Yes.
that, because often that's what people, the franchisor or the
Yes.
master, will always want the proof, and you've now got enough of a foothold to do that. One
Yep.
thing we haven't talked about is social media. So, like I said, seeing your
Um,
videos, which they're great. Tell us a little bit about your strategy for social media.
Another one of those things in the list of things of, this marketing stuff and these attributions, there's a whole world of that I don't even really get into. Maybe I should, but especially in this small marketplace, we just want to be top of mind. We want to be ever, oh, I saw Tom at the trade show and then my friend told me about Blue and then I saw this. And then another big part of that we're investing in is social media. I mean, we do now many posts a week. We batch them up, we film them, we talk about relevant stuff. We try to always educate None of our videos are about, hey, look at Blue Mortgage and why it's so great. We try to find things that are relevant just to any mortgage broker, that I don't care what you're using or where you're at in your journey. This could be interesting to you. So just to provide value, provide that education. And to be honest with you, Paul, I don't know what the ROI is of that, but I can tell you at the very least that, when we talk to people, I
Yeah.
saw you in LinkedIn. Hey, do you know what? Oh yeah. Are you the guy who does those videos? Or just people reaching out saying, love the video. By the way, does Blue Mortgage do this or that? I can't quantify it exactly, but it just, it's one of those gut feelings where, enough of these data points are coming through to say, hey, we're doing something right here, and let's dial it up versus dialing it back down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the attribution thing can be well overplayed. I think,
Yeah.
sometimes it's when someone's got a role, they'll make it bigger than what it is. And I think, yes, there's some things that definitely should be tracked, but I do believe, that is very difficult to watch,
Mhm.
especially it's omni-channel now. Like where we
Yeah.
watch things, you look at your habits, you're in so many social platforms yourself, you're taking information from so many places. But I think, that peer network is really strong. And like you said, that word of mouth is, and how do you stay top of mind? I think you
Yeah.
guys do a great job in doing that. And I know that you said it's, the process. Do you batch them? Like, just tell us a little bit about how you do them, because you seem prolific. So yeah, I'd love to know how much time and how you do it.
Yeah, it's, we've gotten into a bit of, we process now. We work with a great local guy who actually comes out and films it for us, but it's about a week out from film day. He'll send us over a document and say, hey, here are a bunch of topics that seem interesting based on reels or videos you've done or other people in the industry. Massimo and I go through, we do about scripts for about 20 videos each. We write that up. It takes us a couple hours in that week leading up. And then, yeah, basically comes in, films that day, 20 videos. It's a marathon. But it's, batching it and getting it in, having that focus time to be really dialed in on those videos. And then that's it. And our local guy who's great, his name's Caden. He edits it and posts it and does it in all those places. So it's really nice to have that end-to-end service and have that focus in actually producing it. And yeah, it's worked really well. So it's really about batching it and getting it in. That's allowed it to be manageable.
Yeah, and I think, if of the 20,000, how much of that 20,000 do you have as first connections, as a guess? Like, how
5,000, 5 to 10. I've probably
5
interacted with 5 to 10,000. Yeah.
yes. So I think, that makes sense. And then, as you know, that everyone that likes, then it gets shown in their network's feed. So then you get that multiplier effect. It does seem like a lot of hard work if you listen to Tom. Tom's got an agency doing it, but even if you're just starting, ways that you can use AI now to help you better come up with the scripts and the content. Like I spoke to two people yesterday. One was my neighbor who I brought their bins in when they were away, came over and said, I heard you had a great holiday overseas because I saw you on LinkedIn. And then I spoke to a guy that I hadn't spoken to for 20 years, randomly called me and said, yeah, I heard you had a great holiday. I'm like, yeah, how do these people even know it
Okay.
exists? So people don't have to comment to see
No,
see the content. So
that's exactly it. And just real quick, you bring up a really good point, is that whole thing, that whole production I just talked about is, 3 years in the making. Go to my Instagram, if anyone's, or my LinkedIn, go scroll all the way to the bottom. It's me on my phone. I didn't edit it. I didn't do anything. I just picked up my phone. I literally just had a demo. So I just talked to a
yes.
client. They brought up something interesting. I just reset it and I hit post. Right. And I think that gave the confidence and the ROI, I guess, because people started seeing that and we said, hey, wait a sec, this is a thing. They go to the next level. So don't feel like you have to hire someone to do 20 videos in a day to start doing this social media thing, or else it's a failure. Just get out your phone and talk to it, right? For 30 seconds a week, a minute a week, and then a day or whatever, right? It's just building it up from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/video, you can there I've got some tips on, lighting and camera and all, but like Tom said, just do it, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
we've all got those videos that we cringe at, and you can only get better by doing. So I think that's brilliant. So we talked about verticalization, we've talked about some channels to market, we've talked about your moat on how you've basically make sure that the client's sticky. We talked about social media. What do you think about an exit? Like, I'm sure that you and Mass have thought about that. Do you think verticalization is going to help with an exit, or do you think it's going to make it harder to do so?
Well, I think, yeah, first off, as it relates to an exit, I mean, for us, I think like any business owner, people always ask, are you going to sell Blue? Are you going to sell it? And my response is that there's always a number, right?
Yes.
I don't care, right? I mean, there's, someone's going to give me $1 billion tomorrow. I'll say yes. I'll do it. And I think the flip side of that is to say there were times in the BluRoot journey, and I think a lot of partners feel this, I should say, is that you feel trapped a bit, right? To say, okay, well, I have to keep going, and I don't know if I could take my skills and just get a job somewhere else. And I'm on this treadmill of selling and then implementing, then selling and implementing. When does this hamster wheel stop? And so I think it's important for anyone listening to at least have that at the back of their mind. So that's kind of how we think about exit. And then yeah, verticalization, how does it affect us? I mean, I can say that we've had offers, people coming to us asking to at least invest in BluRoot, and it's all industry people, because the benefit that you get is those 5 to 10,000 people that I know I reach on social media. There's industry people who also want to reach those same people. Becomes much more than just the finances of the business, which of course is important, but the value of a strategic partner. You can then be strategic to other maybe bigger players in the industry, and that's where the value really comes from. In any type of exit or any type of partnership, is hey, what I do and what I sell, can that be complementary to what you do and you sell? And if so, there's an absolutely a ton of value there. So yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. And I can say too, talking about Mass when he did just services, there were actually offers on the table, but nothing to the level that we now kind of get now, right? Because there's not that strategic benefit. So yeah,
Strategic
completely
benefit
different.
and
Yeah.
nice recurring revenue, which is,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
something. And also, I think with services, it's still relying upon the delivery of that service as a high margin to deliver this. But once you build it once, like you guys have, and you're always tweaking it, but
Hmm.
then it's a lot easier to scale, and it's a lot easier for someone else to scale, and it's not just relying upon, like you said, it takes, well, in this case, it's taken nearly 6 years to build, but once you get there, it is worth it.
And just to that point, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, Paul, but
No, go for
we
it.
work with a group called SaaS Academy, and we say, find your perfect exit.
Yeah.
And exit doesn't mean a sale, actually, I don't think. Exit can be just you put in a CEO or a president who just runs the company. You remain the owner and maybe collect a dividend check once a year. And again, yeah, that's what the vertical has allowed. Instead of the whole business being in my brain, it's completely repeatable. Massimo, for the first time in a while, he's taking a 3-week vacation right now. And he's been off for a week, and there hasn't been squeak from any customers, right? Because we can do that. Exit doesn't mean sell to whoever. It can take a lot of different forms, but
Yeah.
having the vertical allows that flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, look, just reminded, listening to Tom Hall, episode 567. He's from bluemortgage.ca. And what we're going to do now is take a short break, thank our sponsors, and then we will come back. Running a tech consulting business can feel like a solo journey, but what if you didn't have to navigate it alone? Introducing the Tech Collective, your go-to resource for tackling those burning questions and unlocking your potential. Join a dynamic collective of experienced tech consultants ready to share insights, strategies, and support to help you today. Grappling with sales, clients, team challenges, our Tech Collective has your back. Join us today at paulhigginsmentoring.com/TC. There's a link in the show notes. There's a small application, and as a thank you for being a listener, enter the coupon code TC, capital TC25 at checkout. That's TC25 to get 25% off. Visit paulhigginsmentoring.com/TC today. So, Tom, what we're going to do now is rapid fire. I'm going to ask you 4 questions, get rapid fire responses. Are you ready for that?
Okay, here we go. Yes.
All right. First one, what are some of the daily habits that you do to drive Blue Mortgage?
Every morning I meditate and I have a gratitude journal. It sets me right for the day. I only do my emails after 3 p.m., or at least I try to. I'm usually pretty good at that. And twice a week we have a power hour where the whole sales team just calls clients. Boom, boom, boom. We all get on a Zoom call, keep each other accountable, and a ton of great stuff comes from that.
Brilliant. And where do you go to learn more about growing Blue Mortgage? I know you spoke about the SaaS Academy. Well, what else do you do?
Yes, that's a big one. For whatever reason, maybe again, that ego side of things, I'd been hesitant about coaching for a while, but we did it and it's great. So anyone out there, get a coach. It really pays off. Beyond that, a lot of great books. Alex Hormozy, I'm into his books right now. I crush audiobooks. I can't read nonfiction, but I'll listen to it all day. So that, and even podcasts, a lot of good ones out there. Paul's, of course, yours is great. The SaaS Academy team has one. That's what I listen to. It's a lot of audio stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And if we could grant you one wish for Blue Mortgage, what would that be?
Geez, yeah, should have thought of this one before, but yeah, one wish for it, I would say it's interest rates coming down. I think, sure, yeah, we can say that. I think the other thing too is more than anything, just building a super, super strong brand. You know, in this, I've learned so much the value of a good brand. And if we can be at the top of everyone's list of a premium brand, that would just be, open so many doors for us.
Yeah, brilliant. And the last one is, what do you know now that you wish you had known in 2018?
There were bumps along the way, but how actually easy it was to get the service to wind down. We should have done it sooner. It had a lot of benefits. There were some bumps running down, but now we're on the other side, and we're very grateful for it. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of the things that you know that you need to do. Take them head on. Take them sooner than you think.
Brilliant. Well, it's been an absolute joy having you on. I know it was just over 100 episodes between Mass and yourself. The business model's changed a lot since then, but I think the two of you work incredibly well together. It helps being friends and then seeing the opportunity coming in. But well done for what you've grown. You've done all the hard yards. Now you're reaping the rewards. Yeah, we look further update in the future of how you
and another 100 episodes or something like that.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, that's it.
If I've got 100 left in me. All right. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thanks.
What a great interview with Tom. It went a bit longer than normal, but it was full of value and worth it. Please reach out to Tom on LinkedIn. All of the links will be in the show notes, and ask him questions. Also, thank him for coming on and sharing his knowledge, and also share it with peers that are stuck in that project based and want to get more into a verticalized solution with recurring revenue. And also, you can watch Tom and I, as I said, on YouTube at Paul Higgins Mentoring. And I'd like to get your feedback as a listener of the podcast. It can be lonely being a podcast host. You don't always get the feedback. If you go to paulhigginsmentoring.com/feedback, fill out a couple of questions, and you'll get a gift from me that I know that you will truly enjoy. See you next time on the Paul Higgins Show. Time for action. Let me know what you implemented from the show. I promise to respond. Plus, get the Tech Consultants Roadmap at paulhigginsmentoring.com/roadmap.